your story. The recording started now. So, Anuj, welcome to your story. How are you, Anuj? And I'm very happy to announce to our audience that Anarock has just acquired a startup. I let Anuj do the introductions of the startup, and it's phenomenal because it's something that had to be done, and apartment complexes and communities would be very happy if you're watching this. Over to you, Anuj.
Thank you very much, Vishal. Very happy New Year to you and to your viewers. Very excited. If you were having this interview maybe about 8 or 9 months ago, I wouldn't have been as excited. So these 8, 9 months have been pretty interesting from the Indian real estate and then the entire prop tech digital space. So, clearly the first few weeks after the lockdown were pretty difficult in the way that the things were coming out. And then
Yes.
as speed picked up, the market opened up and we're just seeing a very different real estate scenario, which Vishal gave us a lot of confidence in understanding and believing that the market is going to come back. And through the period, last 4 months, we've done three new joint ventures in with Maze out of the UK
Yes.
on project management, with Binswanger out of the US on industrial and logistics, and then with Vindico on the
Hmm.
retail. And this
Hmm.
fourth one, as you rightly said, is Vishal, is very exciting, which is an acquisition of a prop tech business,
Yes.
which is in the apartment management space, society management space called as Apna Complex.
Hmm.
It's a SaaS which has been out there for the last 10 years, and we were fortunate to be able to secure that, buy it, and then really want to now grow that. It's the
Hmm.
first time, Vishal, we're getting into the consumer
Correct.
tech space. So the excitement is very palpable within our setup of having acquired this with a very strong team that has come along with it.
What interests me is the whole PropTech space is a $10 billion global opportunity. In India, it's just about I think it's a sunrise industry. The next 10 years will decide on the digitization of the property side of things. I think a lot of the builders who are your clients, right, would appreciate these kind of services. By going B2C from your consulting B2B background, that requires a complete different DNA. And Anuj, you have to tell us, how do you want to reshape that DNA?
So Vishal, very interesting, and this is something that we've been debating internally as well. That what is it that we're going to do, because we've largely been on the B2B
Yes.
space. About 3.5 years ago, we embarked on the prop tech space. So we
Mm,
understand that prop tech space within Anarock, because a lot of our sourcing of
mm,
the prospective home buyers is through digital and technology. But it's largely a B2B. It's
mm.
actually a B2B2C play. What we do in
Correct.
Anarock is this is a pure consumer tech. So three things that we said is, Vishal. One is that we will leave the culture the way it is.
Mhm,
When we
mhm.
did our due diligence, we found that the culture was superb. The DNA of the organization was outstanding.
Yes.
Also, Vishal, it's been on for 10 years. So it's not a very young startup in that sense.
Correct.
It has the culture, it has the ethics, it has the governance, it has the transparency. So we felt is that for us to leave it the way it is on a culture, that is the best, and hence it stands with its independent branding
Yes.
and independent headquartered office in Bangalore,
Mm.
with the current team continuing to
Yeah.
lead it. Second, we said is, where is it that as Anarock we're going to be able to add value? And we said
Absolutely.
is really four areas. One
Mm.
is that we have a lot of the developer contacts, so we can do the business development in there. Second, we have a very strong tech team on the
Yes.
tech side. We can add to the tech team. Third is, in our prior avatars, Vishal, we were very much into property management. So we knew what the apartment owner or the occupier really is
Mm,
looking at, and hence,
mm,
add value
mm.
to the user of that, really, getting onto the app. And the
Yeah.
fourth was, how do we sort of expand, because we have internal resources, we have the cash flow to be able to back it internally. without really going to the investors? How do we really back it through that cash flow, through those resources to be able to expand the team? So whilst the culture continues to remain very independent, which we love it and we like it and we endorse it, we think is that on the business development, on the tech side, on adding more features to the app, and on ensuring that the right resources are backing it, that's where we felt is that it was a great acquisition.
Yeah, and I'm glad you mentioned the builder community. I think the developers there would definitely love digitization. You could probably bring in the COVID as accelerated digitization in many ways. Housing societies want to move digital. Uh, how soon will your clients accept this kind of a product? I know the Apna Complex team would be very happy to get your resource. I also think you can take them global because you're not just an Indian organization, right? Can you talk about the global and the Indian opportunity? They've already scaled up to about 6 lakh households in several cities. So
Yes.
what are your thoughts on that?
So Vishal, very interesting question. Both the aspects of this is very interesting. One is, on the international side, how do you
Yes.
take it forward? And the second is, what's the acceptability within the existing developer community or the resident, societies? On the international, Vishal, as we were just discussing before we started on the recording, you said is in San Jose as well. There weren't those many apps. I mean, I lived in London for many years, and there were no such apps. In fact, the building society that I live in, Bombay, does not still have an app in there. And every time the guard calls from the gate, that this guy has come in, and you have to answer it, and you really want it through the tech for
Yeah.
this to happen. So I think is with the pandemic, this has only accelerated because you're
Yes.
so sort of nervous to allow unknown people, get into your apartment, that you're saying is unless I really want and allow you through the app for you to get in, I don't really want any interruption happening
Correct.
in my home. Second is many of the building societies are still giving those hard invoices at the end of the month. And Apna Complex is fantastic on the financial side. So all of it is done really digitally. And third is that it has a huge number of features, right from the gatekeeping to security to repair,
Yes.
maintenance, everything which is done online. So I do feel is, Vishal, this pandemic has really brought in the momentum on the society
Okay.
management apps to a need basis. So I think the developers in India would be very, very welcoming to say,
Correct.
look, we do want to bring it in. It's also very reasonably priced, so it's not something that the affordability
Yeah.
becomes a question. And second is that the existing building societies, which are not being run by the developers, would also say, is look, we need it from a
Yeah.
security, safety, hygiene perspective and app rather than doing it the traditional way, including the financial billing. On the
It's a whole.
international side,
Go
Vishal,
on, please. Pardon me. Go on. Go on.
no, sorry. I was just saying is on the international side, we were quite surprised when we were doing our due diligence. We discovered, particularly in GCC, the Gulf area where we have a pretty large presence as Anarock. When we did our dipstick there, we
Yes.
discovered that the developers there also don't really have this app. And when we went and met up with them, they were very excited to say, yes, this is something that we are really looking at. And the pandemic has made sure that they are now
Yeah.
being forced by their occupiers to say, look, can we actually have some kind of an app which does help? So our aspirations are to not only, do it as the number one player in India on the society management side, as you rightly said, is Vishal, we have
Correct.
600,000 households currently in 80 different cities. But it
Yes.
is also to expand internationally to begin with in the GCC countries first, and then take it to some of the more Western mature markets.
That'd be lovely when you do that. I'm also interested in the world has changed because of a lot of these retail startups. We've seen these food tech startups make a massive impact, and sometimes the gate staff, the intelligent gate management, so to speak, they have a very difficult time managing the number of people, e-commerce guys, food tech guys, several people, and people want an instant kind of gratification. I've ordered something. Why should this guy wait at the gate? Why can't he show up at my doorstep? Is there a way you can integrate these partners now? Since you're going to bring in your technology team to Apna Complex too, it's an API-driven world. Are you going to manage that too?
100%. And that is what the intent is. Absolutely, you've hit it on the nail, Vishal. The intent is, to be able to bring in the partner vendors and
Yes.
be able to integrate it through the
Mhm.
app, making sure that the data is
Mhm.
fully protected. So,
Mhm.
this is going to be the most severe data protection from a global standpoint, and ensuring that it becomes seamless with the partner vendor. So,
Right.
those, as you rightly said, is on the food delivery or even
Mhm.
on the cab services or,
Yes.
your dry cleaning or your, sort of vegetable
Yeah, vendors.
orders that you're giving in. The ability for those guys to
Mhm.
be able to really have a smooth transition on the
Mhm.
delivery is going to be paramount. So the partner vendors
Mhm.
and the app is going to be able to talk to each other,
Okay.
but making sure that the data protection, which is the key priority for us, really is happening, and at no stage the data should get compromised.
Okay. Okay. And the prop tech space, acquisitions, people always complain. A lot of the accelerators complain to me that there aren't many acquisitions,
Yes,
and this is interesting that there is an acquisition. I may ask you a question that you may choose to not to answer. How is the deal structured? Is it a complete buyout? And what is the average buyout normally globally when you acquire such a company? And would it be closer to that number in India? Because we want to celebrate the numbers. These are startups, like you said, work 10 years, work very hard, and they want to celebrate it. Some thoughts on those things, just so that the audience understands, or also motivate some people to get into prop tech and make some solutions.
yeah. And Vishal, sort of my legal and finance team has said not to say, but I will
Correct.
say it.
Understand.
I will still say because you rightly said is, it is there to celebrate. It is
Yes.
celebration for the people who have worked very hard
Correct.
on this one.
Correct.
Is so Vishal, it's 100% cash buyout.
Okay.
So it's
Nice.
not an equity. I mean, you
Nice.
never are able to understand that, how the equities are then valued. This is
Correct.
100% cash buyout, not a
Okay.
swap of equity
Okay.
that is happening. And,
Okay.
the cash is coming in from our internal
Hmm.
accruals. God has been kind to Anarock. So we've had, pretty good
Nice.
surplus as a result of which we were able to do it through the
Okay.
internal
Okay.
accruals. Typically at a global level, SaaS, the way it is
Hmm.
valued, Vishal, is between 15 to 25 times the revenue.
Okay.
And that's what the range at which we've also acquired Apna Complex. So between 15 to 25 times
Hmm.
the revenue. And that's where the ballpark is for most of the ERP stroke SaaS.
Correct. Correct. Would this be your first tech acquisition? Because I remember this 4 years ago. I think you made a consulting acquisition. I think somewhere in Southeast Asia, or I may be mistaken. Maybe
Yes.
even Australia or something. I don't remember it correctly. But is this your first tech acquisition, if I may say so?
So we've done we've done acquisitions in the past, but it
Uh-huh.
is, you're absolutely right, the first prop tech
Nice.
acquisition. We built the prop tech over the last
Okay.
3.5 years, and
Okay.
we've done other acquisitions, but we've never done a prop tech acquisition. And that's
Nice.
why I said, is, at the start of the interview, the excitement is very palpable
Yes.
within the organization. And also, our understanding of the prop tech, where we've understood it over the last 3.5 years, and where Apna Complex and the team are, it is really converging. And our thought is that where it converges, we can now leapfrog.
Yes.
From where they're both the teams bring in very different personalities and
Mhm.
different advantages.
Okay.
And one is a lot stronger on the
Hmm.
networking,
Hmm.
on understanding what the consumer is really
Hmm.
wanting, and on the technology side. And on the other side, the team has built over the
Hmm.
last 10 years beautiful product. 600,000 households are using. Nearly 3,600 societies across 80 cities are using that product, which is very
Yeah.
satisfying to see consumers actually using it. Because Vishal,
Yes.
some of the times, we prepare on the prop tech side the products, but
Yes.
actually the consumer never utilizes it, and so
Oh,
the
yeah. The
gamification doesn't
utilization is
come in.
very bad. Very well said. Utilization is very bad. I think perhaps your expertise will increase that utilization.
And that
Very
is
well
the
said.
reason, one of the reasons that we looked at acquiring, to say is that it's a fantastic product.
Okay.
We
Okay.
should be able to bring in more and more clients onto this.
Okay. how did you shop for this? Did Nestaway approach you, or did you say that, look, you guys are in a different space, we can take this forward, we can make this work? Who made the talk happen?
So I think it was two things, Vishal. On one side, we were looking to get into the property management space.
Yeah.
In my past life, I've done property management, within as the chairman and country head of Jones Lang LaSalle.
Yes.
But I didn't really want to get into the physical space of that is, and I wanted to get into that, but more on the prop tech side. So we were really looking at it to say is, what can we do? Should we build it on our own? Can we partner someone? Can we actually acquire someone? And what kind of acquisition
Right.
would that be? And then on the other hand, one of the investors in Nestaway, approached us and said is, look, there are some discussions, there are some ongoing
Nice.
negotiations happening. Would you want to look at this? And we looked at it, and within sort of 48 hours,
Okay.
we were sort of in there virtually shaking hands
Nice.
to say
Nice.
that
So what, it took you 3 months for the due diligence and all that, the term sheets and all that?
yes, absolutely.
That's a quick acquisition, actually.
It is because it was run beautifully, and the governance was fantastic because it had
Nice.
real blue chip investors.
Correct.
As a result of which the due diligence was quite easy, given the way that they had run the business, which
Right.
from a transparency and governance point of view was fantastically done.
Okay, Anuj, I want to ask you, because we also talk about startups, mostly startups in your story, and this is a time for us to celebrate. So a lot of people will then call me and say, hey, is Anarock setting up a venture studio kind of thing? Is Anarock going to help us with advice? Mentoring. Right? What advice would you give them? I know I'll write a larger story, I'll come back to you again, but I want a quick thought on what should companies look at when they see prop tech, because real estate is so vast in India. The market size is phenomenal, but it's been 10 bad years for any developer. If you talk to them, they'll tell you it's tough time. We know that. So your thoughts on this?
So Vishal, it's a very interesting question, and we can debate it for very long. I would say is to begin with, Vishal, the adoption of prop tech has been very difficult, very difficult. For whatever reason, I think is the property guys in our field, the real estate guys, are very averse to adopting tech. I think we may be one of the last industries left where tech hasn't been able to penetrate, and it's such a large sector. So I am hoping that as the millennials come into this sector, the adoption of technology really happens. So the first thing is, yes, you're doing prop tech, you're building prop tech, but please remember that the users of the real estate, of the properties, are very lethargic and not wanting to use tech.
Yeah.
So culturally, it is one of the few sectors that I would say is which is reluctant to adopt tech. The second is make sure that whatever you are really preparing is implementable. Because many a times, Vishal, we see is that these are great products, but they're great on paper, not really implementable.
Well said.
Third, and
Well
perhaps
said.
the most important, Vishal, I would say is look at the business plan. It has to make money at the end of the day. You can't just.
I hope startups are hearing that. That's the bottom line.
Yeah, and I'm saying it does not need to make money today. That's okay. You are investing and you are continuing to invest it. But at some stage, there has to be visibility that how are you going to be able to add revenues onto this, and how you're going to be able to really make money on this product. I'm saying as long as you have a clear path, clear direction, that yes, you're going to be able to make revenues out of this implementable, adoptable prop tech. I think those are the three things that I would say is be careful. It is a slow sector to adopt tech. Make sure that whatever you're preparing is implementable, and ensure that you have at least vision. I'm not saying in the short term, maybe in the mid long term, but there has to be an ability to be able to generate revenues out of it.
Fascinating. It's category creation that's important, and sticking true to it. Pricing becomes a key area here. And again, the piece, it's a chicken and egg situation. We have a old school economy and the new school economy, right? And you're becoming the bridge now, right? And do you see people paying for SaaS? Subscription models are amazing. Do you see that taking off, or will it be annual pricing? What will people be happy with in India? How would the typical community complex of 300 apartments like to pay?
So it is interesting. Both the points are very interesting, Vishal. That it is sort of otherwise you look at startups and these are 20 something who are making
Correct.
it, and then you have old economy, and this is absolutely right. It is a bridge. So we'll see how successful the bridge is between mature, experienced professionals, and the person who's going to be leading this has been with us for a very, very long time. He used to run our Gulf region, Shajai.
Nice.
And he used to run our Gulf, and we've requested him to come back. Given the size of this acquisition and the investment that we are further going to put it in, so it is going to be very interesting how we see the success through this bridge. What the societies are likely to pay is, Vishal, that they love to pay annually.
Yes.
And it is between the and just for the sake of transparency for your story, I would say it's between 10 to 15 rupees per apartment per month as the membership fee, as the utilization.
Very affordable.
Very affordable. So it's not a very expensive. And
so you can do a Google Pay on the app, and that's it.
That's it. And Vishal, our intent is to even bring it further down and down and down. Add more features onto it and then continue to expand and to be able to bring down, that as well. So pretty affordable.
It'll be very interesting. And again, congrats on that. I'm going to, guys, for those who are watching this, go build your prop tech startups. It's a great category. It's a great opportunity. It's a multi-billion-dollar industry, but it's a very Indian problem to solve. And I'll be talking to Anuj through the year. I'll get some great interviews going, perhaps even get him to do a masterclass with some of you. I'll also do a story on Apna Complex as and when they're ready. Again, Anuj, thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Vishal. I've thoroughly enjoyed this.
Same here.
Yeah, absolutely. Have a great day, and
you too.
All the best to your viewers as well.
Thank you very much. And I'll see you soon, Anuj.
Yes.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
And that's a take. That's good.